Precepts incense, samadhi incense, wisdom incense, liberation incense, cloud of lighted incense, pouring into the Dharma realms, offering to the highest teachers of the 10 directions. I respectfully bow to the incense cloud Bodhisattva. I respectfully bow to the incense cloud Bodhisattva. I respectfully bow to the incense cloud Bodhisattva. I respectfully bow to all directions of space, all realms, past, present, and future, all Buddhas, the honored Dharma, the enlightened Sangha, the permanent 3 treasures. I respectfully bow to our own teacher, Sakyamuni Buddha, the future born Maitreya Buddha, great wisdom, Manjushri Bodhisattva, great practice, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Dharma protector Bodhisattvas, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas at the great holy mountain. I respectfully bow to the great love, great compassion, Amitabha Buddha of the Western Paradise, great compassion, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, great vow, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, great power, Mahastamaprada Bodhisattva, all the Bodhisattvas in the great pure ocean. Well, good morning. I see some of you have already said things. Oh, yeah, winds of change, sure enough. So, So if you can hear me okay, I think I figured out where some of that background noise was coming from. We'll see. We will see. But yeah, it's interesting. I had decided a couple of weeks ago that I would talk about this particular topic today. Before, I thought about this before we had a tropical storm coming in. About an hour ago, I was out on the back patio right here doing some Tai Chi, and suddenly was doing Tai Chi in the rain. It was a light rain at first and a little light wind. It was actually kind of nice. I sort of like it when these things first arrive. It kind of feels sort of cool. But anyway, later this week is the 75th anniversary of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And as you know, it's the beginning of hurricane season. And so both of these things kind of made me think of this one sutta where the Buddha spoke it in verse, and it's called the Pavattopama Sutra, which Pavattopama means irresistible force. So I'm going to read you an excerpt from it, and I have adapted it slightly to clarify meaning. Just as a mighty mountain range scraping the sky with rocky crags might advance from 4 directions, crushing everything before it, so also does change roll over all living beings, nobles, priests, and laborers. None can escape this truth. Nothing on earth can defend it, not elephants, chariots, or troops, nor magic spells, nor even gold. So one who is firm and wise, seeking the true refuge, will set their hearts on awakening, on the teachings, and on the spiritual community. One who practices thus with body, speech, and mind is blessed in this world and afterward in the Pure Land. So we all have to deal with irresistible forces in life, one way or another. Usually those forces aren't hurricane scale or warfare scale or even global pandemic scale, but the winds of change touch us all. And as that sutra says, the best refuge from the storms of life is to practice with body, speech, and mind in ways that will prepare us for whatever the winds blow our way. So I actually had this idea of talking about the winds of change. A long time ago, there was an art installation that I saw it was at the DeLand Museum of Art, and it was created by an artist named Tony Etherong, who lives in DeLand, but he's pretty well known in different places. And he he did an art installation at the museum, which involved a whole bunch of paper cranes, origami cranes, these things. But it was based on the story of Sadako Sasaki, who was a young Japanese girl who died from leukemia several years after the bombings of Hiroshima, where she lived. And Sadako had heard this story that if you fold 1,000 paper cranes, you will get a wish. And so she set out to do that. And even when it became clear that she was going to die from this cancer, which was caused by the radiation from the bombing of Hiroshima, she kept folding cranes. And her wish became that there would be peace so that other girls wouldn't have to suffer the way she did. And I had first heard of her in 1985. I visited Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima during a trip to Japan. And that park marks where the epicenter of the atomic bomb blast was. And there's a statue of Sadako there. This young girl holding this origami crane, and it's surrounded by paper cranes that have been brought there or sent there by people who were inspired by the message of peace that she gave. And then I thought about her again when I was in Vermont at the Todo Institute and doing the residential program toward a certification in Japanese psychology. And the program, it's a retreat. It's highly experiential. And one day we were all assigned to fold paper cranes. So if you've ever done this, you know that origami is really an exercise in attention. And it's also a way to work with staying true to purpose despite potentially unpleasant feelings that might arise, like frustration about things not working out the way we wanted them to, or anxiety about whether we can succeed at something new. I was actually going to have you fold some of these with me, but I'm really out of practice. I hadn't done one in a long time, maybe in 5 years or so. And so I had to look up the instructions for it again because I couldn't quite remember how to do it right. And then I was afraid that if I did this on YouTube, that it would end up going viral as, this Zen monk who can't figure out how to fold an origami crane and gets mad or whatever. The kind of the reason that Greg Creech had us do this as part of this retreat was to get us to work with these unpleasant feelings that arise and stay on purpose. So mental phenomena like frustration and anxiety about failure, worrying about how other people are going to view us and things like that, often arise in our minds when we set out to try to do something unfamiliar or difficult. Our ability to succeed or even to continue with determination is proportional to our ability to coexist with unpleasant feelings and to let our actions be guided by our purpose rather than be waylaid by our emotions. So I was sitting there in Vermont with folding paper cranes with people, and I remembered Sadako and realized one of the reasons why her story is so inspiring to so many people. And of course, it's a sad story. There was this innocent child. She was a good student. She was generally a good person. She was athletic and all of this. And she died as a result of a war that she was not responsible for in any way. But there's this other message too, which is a human being dealing with unfair conditions, experiencing a hopeless personal tragedy and enduring remarkable physical pain, setting her mind on a purpose and moving inexorably toward it despite its apparent impossibility. We had some people go for refuge and take the Bodhisattva vows the other night, and the Bodhisattva vows are really exercises in this. The whole thing is, this is impossible and I'm going to do it, right? So we can't control nature. We can't control other people. We can't change our past, but we can respond to whatever winds of change blow through our lives. And if we're to remain on firm footing in the face of those winds and respond to them skillfully, then we need the ability to let feelings happen as they will and to keep steering our actions toward our purpose. So in the past few decades, we've had a number of big hurricanes, And a lot of people react to disasters like that with heartfelt compassion, which is a good thing. After Katrina, for example, busloads of people went to the Gulf to help with relief efforts and donated money. And, you see things like the suffering involved in the wake of the hurricane that hit Puerto Rico and caused so much damage. And, people find ways to be helpful. But there can also be a lot of anger sometimes. And anger is understandable because there are mistakes made that contribute to the devastation, things that bog down the relief. But the past is one of those things that we can't control. And anger is basically an attempt to want to make the past something different than it is. So I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't get angry. Anger arises because it's part of the karmic baggage that we bring with us into this life. It would be nice if we could prevent the arising of unskillful thoughts and feelings like anger and anxiety and depression, but it doesn't work that way. Emotions like that are sort of like stray cats. If you don't feed them, they'll go away. If you give them some attention to chew on, they'll hang around for a while and they'll keep coming back. I've noticed that when I talk about anger specifically, there are people who feel that if they don't feed their anger, they won't feel like doing anything about whatever injustice they're concerned about. And a problem with that point of view is that if you only do something when you feel like it, then you're not going to get much of anything done, right? We all know this. We go to work, whether we feel like going to work or not, and all that kind of stuff. So most of our catastrophes are not caused by hurricanes and bombs and things like that. They're more like screw ups at work, losing money, projects we need to complete but don't feel like doing, things like that. And the mechanism of working with those catastrophes is the same as working with big disasters. We accept what's happened, accept the way we feel, and then do what the circumstances call for. And then when the storm is blown over, the work we've done still stands, and it's there to help us weather the next storm. So as you all know, a lot of people come to me to learn how to meditate, and I'll often ask, if we're at a meeting and that kind of thing, what do you hope to accomplish by meditation? Why do you want to learn how to meditate? And the most common answer probably is, I want to have inner peace. Inner peace is pleasant, but it's not really all that useful. Unpleasant emotions really are a side effect of being a caring human being. If you're anxious about giving a talk, that's because you care about how well you do. If you're sad when a friend is suffering, that's because you care about other people. So don't try to get rid of unpleasant feelings. If you don't feed them, they will go away on their own anyway. Instead, accept how you feel, and then shift your attention from how you feel to what you want to accomplish, from your feelings to your purpose. Because after the feelings have passed, your purpose will still be there. This has practical value, but it also has spiritual value. The process of coexisting with unpleasant feelings and staying on purpose is one of the things that we work on when we meditate. So when you go for refuge and take the precepts and that kind of thing, you're working with skills that you'll need when it comes to not engaging in things that want to waylay your spiritual life, office gossip and that kind of stuff. There's this idea in Buddhism and Zen, very specifically, of living naturally. That doesn't mean doing whatever you feel like doing. It means that you don't assume that there's something wrong with you when you feel anxious or discouraged or whatever. You go ahead and you feel the way you feel, and then you do what you need to do. So there's an interesting thing that happens when you start living according to purpose, and Sadako's example is a good demonstration of that. Her initial purpose was to get a wish to have her cancer cured. So there's a tradition in Japan, there's this sort of idea that if you fold 1,000 cranes and keep them, that you'll get a wish. And so she wanted to fold 1,000 cranes and then wish her cancer away. When she saw the effect that her actions were having on others, people were hearing about this and they were responding. They were folding cranes on her behalf and bringing them to her and things like that. And when she saw that, her purpose broadened. She wasn't deterred by the impossibility of her purpose, but toward the end, her wish became a wish for the benefit of others, not just for herself. So I won't try to tell you what your purpose should be. If you're a Buddhist, maybe you started practicing hoping you'd achieve some inner peace. And then with time and practice, that purpose grows and your wish begins to bear some fruit. And you start to realize that you don't want to be just enlightened just for yourself. You don't want just inner peace. You really want something much bigger. You want to wake up for the sake of all beings. So for one human being to liberate all beings is an impossible task, but that's okay. That shouldn't stop you from doing it. When your purpose grows like that, what you actually do becomes more tightly focused. You just have to breathe one breath, observe one precept, give one Dharma talk. There's a quote from Sadako at the base of her memorial that I think reflects what she had in mind when she folded her origami crane. She said, "I will write peace on your wings and you will fly all over the world." So that purpose is a huge, impossible one, to save all children from dying in war. But from moment to moment, her purpose really just took shape in one tiny focused task, just to fold one little crane. So by the way, if you want to fold cranes, there's a bunch of tutorials online. You can go to YouTube, and I could have posted a link or whatever, I guess. But if you just put origami crane into the search engine, you'll get plenty of examples. And I encourage you to do it if you haven't done it before. It's kind of fun. It's frustrating, irritating, all of those things that fun can be. So it's interesting. It looks like I have more questions that I'm seeing. Hold on. I'm going to see if you've asked any questions. In the meantime, if you got any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm having issues. Sorry about that. Me. Technology is great when it works. Okay, now I see the other things you put. Mic feedback. That's weird. Wonder what that's about. There shouldn't be any feedback. There's only one mic. It's not playing back through any speakers or anything. It might be on your end. If you're listening through loudspeakers, you might be getting something back. I don't know. I'll listen to it later and see. I has actually started to use my better camera today, but the microphone is much more sensitive. And so I actually get more background noise. And I was afraid that with storm coming and everything, it'd end up me being drowned out by wind and rain and that kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't see any more questions, so we will do the dedication. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind, great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let our karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized. May they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophes, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, and all those working toward the healing of those afflictions. We pray for those suffering from COVID-19 and those ministering to them, and to those grieving for those lost in this pandemic. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahaprajna, Paramita. Three bows to the Buddha. And a bow to you. Keep yourself safe and dry, and I'll see you Wednesday.